Me personally, my name is Nathan Oakley. I want to welcome every single one of you 1,000 participants to the flat earth you all measured. Welcome to Flat Earth.
As a flat earther, you mean you couldn't really disagree with anything Dan's telling us about how Earth's measured, could you? He's just pointing out how it's measured flat.
Perpendicular elevation, flat earth prerequisite elevation angle.
Yeah, okay. On a local scale, I will acknowledge all of that using trigonometry. And that's what Eratosthenes did over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, you've already admitted to this too as well, haven't you, Dan? That normal trig is okay. That is to say, using flat baselines and triangles on a flat earth is okay.
Use flat approximation for convenience. Linear measurements require flatness. By using miles, directions and measurements, you're secretly a flat earther. Normal trigonometry gives good approximations. Trigonometry doesn't care what shape you're on. It's just relationships between angles and lengths. Used by pilots and astronomers and GPS systems, you can absolutely apply trigonometry. In the case of this diagram here, 50 kilometres.
Again, with the same caveat from Dan, I'll just reiterate Dan's little caveat that it's only local that we're measuring Earth flat, and also we don't only measure Earth flat.
Since elevations are measured as vertical distances from sea level, and sea level is assumed to be flat, okay, look, land surveyors do often use flat plane approximations over short distances. It means you're measuring the shortest path between 2 points. Over small distances, you can use straight line approximation. We don't only measure Earth flat.
And also, we don't only measure Earth flat, right, Dan? That's a direct quote, no editing. We don't only measure Earth flat.
We don't only measure Earth flat.
With trig. End quote, Simon Dan. Yeah, but we do definitely measure Earth flat with basic trig, don't we? It's flat triangles, Dan.
Use flat approximation for convenience.
You see, you and Dave need to get together because about 18 months ago, Dave seemed to be under the misapprehension that me saying, well, we measure Earth flat with triangles, it's trig. And he said, nah, we don't. And now here you are getting the entire world to measure Earth flat with trig.
For convenience.
Right, Dan? And admitting that basic trig is okay on a flat earth to measure locally.
Since elevations are measured as vertical distances from sea level, and sea level is assumed to be flat.
It's only short distances that we're measuring Earth flat, says Simon Dan. That's because we're measuring Earth flat with trig and angles and surface level and sea level and Polaris-based latitude measurements off a flat Earth. Everything Dan's doing in this so-called non-experiment, it isn't an experiment, we're just measuring stuff.
Length and the shadow length it cast. I could then calculate the solar elevation angle using trigonometry. And that's what Eratosthenes did over 2,000 years ago to estimate the...
That's not correct. Because Eratosthenes is measuring the length of the shadow between him and the obelisk. He's using the obelisk to cast a shadow. Where that shadow ends will be the beginning of his elevation angle. And his elevation angle gave him a zenith angle. And now he's using right angle triangles for all of this, but he's not using trig for it. Trig is used for like a mountain or something, but it's not used for the sun, for any celestial body. That's how he got the distance of, well, within the claim, 500 miles, because he got a 7.24 zenith angle off of his elevation angle. So yes, he used triangles, but he didn't use trigonometry. He used the celestial navigation method, to 16 nautical miles per degree. It's like, but statute miles didn't exist then. Long story short, Dan is incorrect to say he used trigonometry for that, because he didn't. He's using triangles, but he's using celestial navigation or astronomy processes with triangles, not trig.
They're saying he's measuring the solar altitude angle though, right?
He is.
So let's just define that again with a different definition. This one's from educational.psu. The solar altitude, AS, measures the angle between the central ray from the sun and a horizontal plane contacting the observer. That's the definition of what's being measured by education.psu. So we've got radar tutorial. Let's have another one. This one's from MathSpace. An angle of elevation is the angle from the lower object to the higher one, while an angle of depression is the angle from the higher object to the lower one. Both angles are measured with respect to the horizontal plane of the reference object.
We don't only measure Earth flat.
So we're measuring with respect to a horizontal plane to get this angle, because that's what it is. A measurement of a horizontal plane the observer is standing on, because it's specifically with reference to altitude. And altitude's off the surface of Earth in this instance. So we're clear. We're measuring Earth's surface as a horizontal plane. It's a flat Earth only measurement. Every single one of the 20 citations I've got makes it explicitly and abundantly clear that we're measuring Earth as the horizontal plane of reference in every single one of them.
The altitude angle, sometimes referred to as the solar elevation angle, describes how high the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. Used interchangeably with altitude angle, is the angular height of the sun in the sky measured from the horizontal elevation angle. PV education is the angle between the horizontal plane and the line of sight, measured in the vertical plane, is a horizontal line in the direction to the horizon. Solar altitude angle, which is the angle between the sun's rays and a horizontal plane, the angle between the horizontal line and the line of sight which is above the horizontal sky or at the sun or moon. The angle thus formed between your height from the ground level and the line of sight formed is called the angle of elevation. Definition. Examples. Angle of elevation. Definition. The angle of elevation is an angle that is formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight. Angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. Both angles are measured with respect to the horizontal plane of the reference object, sun, and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on, and the horizontal plane containing the observer. Projection of sun's rays on the horizontal plane of Earth's surface. Target elevation angle between the horizontal plane and the line of sight, measured in the vertical plane through the line of sight. Positive angles are measured upward from the horizontal plane. Principles of Naval Ordnance and Gunnery, page 540.
There's no reference in any of them to tangential base measurements because they're not measurements of an angle when you've only got a single point to a sphere, as opposed to from, that's a measurement of Earth, Earth's planar, horizontal, flat surface. Now, if it isn't any of those things I've just listed, then it isn't an angle measurement. Let's just get it clear. This is The Rock, me demanding Dave and Dan and anybody else who measures Earth sink to their knees in acknowledgement of the horizontal plane of Earth's surface that's being measured for this to be an angle. So every one of Dan's participants can give themselves a little pat on the back for measuring Earth flat. Alternatively, you can say, no, I didn't measure Earth. No measurements. To a sphere, tangent. You can do that too. Of course, I'll turn around and say, so you haven't got any Earth measurements then?
Did it too, with over 1,000 people. The exact number.
Wowee! 1,000 people measured Earth flat. Wow, this has got to be the biggest flat Earth measurement demonstration in all of history, Dan. Every single one of them measured the horizontal plane of reference the observer was standing on. And if they didn't, then they weren't making a measurement, as per the 20 citations that define it as requiring Earth be flat. It's part of the measurement. So 1,000 people measured Earth flat. I cannot believe how wonderful a day it is. How wonderful. 1,000 people measured Earth flat.
1,004.
Locally.
It doesn't matter if you caveat it by saying, oh, no. Every single one of them used a flat Earth because Earth's a really big ball. Okay, so if I am to accept your apologetics that Earth's a really big ball, I'm understanding correctly that we measure Earth flat. Yeah, we do, I know. There's no getting away from this for any of you numpties who think you're on a ball. You can apologise for it. You can say, yeah, we measure Earth flat because it's a really, really big ball. That's why we measure it Earth flat. Because it's a big ball. That's why I measure it flat. Obviously, you'll sound like a crackhead, like you're insane. Because you measure flat things flat. You measure ball things ball-shaped, and you don't measure things flat because they're ball-shaped. That's insane. But meanwhile, let's break down the sentence. We do measure Earth flat. That's easy to understand and easy to prove. We're measuring an angle from it. So that's easy to prove beyond all doubt. It's a fact. We measure Earth flat. But let's go over the second bit. Because it's a really big ball, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever because we're measuring it flat. But we're not measuring it flat because it's a ball, but we are definitely, unequivocally measuring it Earth flat.
For convenience.
Unless, of course, that Dan and every single one of his 1,000 participants wants to deny that they measured Earth. In which case they've got no Earth measurements and I couldn't give a crap what they claim. If they haven't got any Earth measurements, I'll only accept elevation angle measurements of Earth.
The Earth is flat.
And if they're not of Earth and they're just calculations, extrapolations or approximations, then they won't fly with me. I mean, you can use them to fantasize about how, yeah, the measurements that we're now denying, they're from a really big ball. That's why they're flat. Earth measurements that you're all measuring for Dan. So if you feel betrayed by Dan, because he told you it was a global measurement, you didn't expect me to come along and call you idiotic, did you? Were you expecting Nathan Oakley to look down the barrel of the camera and say, did you participate in Dan's flat Earth measurements of surface level for an angle? Because you've got me looking down the camera barrel, smiling and affirming your need for a flat Earth prerequisite to measure this surface level angle measurement of Earth as a flat plane. So well done, every single one of Dan's participants. You all measured Earth flat. And let me personally, my name is Nathan Oakley, I want to welcome every single one of you 1,000 participants to the flat Earth you all measured. Welcome to Flat Earth.